Hello and welcome to Frank's School. This is the last video that I'm going to be making about the Hagen experience. I call it the Detmold Hagen experience, and it's kind of an afterward. In the last video, 817, we left the museum. Here is the guidebook for that museum at Hagen. Thomas Hockling got a couple of maps that show routes for tourist routes through this whole area. Water, iron, land. Recommended tours on a bicycle or in a car. The various museums to see. I don't know if I'll get back. I might. If I were a traveler, if I loved to travel and had the money, I would go back. But as I said before, I don't actually like to travel. I like to learn. And I learned so much. And there is so much more, I'm sure, to be learned there. So, I don't know. But I did want to tell you something say something about something rather odd that happened to me that night. In a way, I'm offering this as some explanation to the Hocklings. Because after we'd gone to that museum, we stayed in very, very inexpensive places. In this case, a very inexpensive place. It was in the city of Hagen. It was up five stories, maybe six, carrying our luggage up a concrete building. It wasn't very clean. The man that rented us the space was wonderful, a young man. He was really nice, and I learned a lot from him too. But we were back in the city of Hagen, and for the last 2 days, I had witnessed such beauty in Detmold, which, if you followed the videos, you saw that farming museum, the Fachwerk, and then in Hagen, as I had said earlier, I not only traveled thousands of miles away to Germany, I also had traveled hundreds of years into the past. And I've seen such beauty. And anyway, the point is, there in the city of Hagen, I was unexpectedly overwhelmed with sadness to the extent that I couldn't talk. It was embarrassing. I'm a sensitive, so now I can sort of laugh about it, but and there's no doubt about it. I'm very sensitive. At one point I said I think it's an occupational hazard having to do with understanding things so well in some cases, and knowing things so well that I'm sensitive to them. But anyway, I got so sad, and I felt so sorry that I couldn't talk. I mean, it was really awkward. You know, the Hocklings, they didn't know what was going on, and I couldn't explain because I couldn't talk. You know, I think at one point Thomas thought, "Are you homesick?" No, I wasn't homesick. If I could have spoken, I would have said, "I am so sorry. I am so sorry for what has happened here in this city." But even then, that would have sounded like, "I'm sorry that we did it, we the Allies," which was not the case. I mean, you see, Hagen had once been, I'm sure, a beautiful, beautiful city. A city, I don't like cities, I wouldn't have liked cities back then either, I don't think, but a city that sort of matched the countryside that we'd seen, and it wasn't. It was concrete. It's back to life. I mean, there's people there and all that. But now, it was destroyed. There was one night, I didn't know this at the time, later I looked it up, I think it was October 1st, I think, 1943, I think 280 Lancaster bombers flew out of England, and it was cloudy, they couldn't really see where they were dropping these bombs, but they dropped all their bombs on the city of Hagen. I don't know at this point. I don't know if they were fire bombs or what, but they just destroyed the city that was there. Now, afterward, it had to be rebuilt, and it had to be rebuilt fairly fast, which is why all the concrete instead of the timber framing and stuff like that. But while I was there, you know, it's one thing to read about this, and even just to talk about it or hear about it. That's one thing. But to be there, it made a difference. And when I could finally speak again a little bit, and it took a while. I mean, we went looking for a Chinese museum, and we went walking around. We had a fairly nice evening, and when I could finally speak again, I said, it was like I heard all those voices in my ear. Those voices coming from, what, 70, 80 years ago. 70 years ago. I heard them, their cry of grief and anguish as their world was destroyed. And they wouldn't stop. I mean, I heard them. Or I mean, this is my way of explaining it. The thought would not go away. Now later, I learned that I think the largest inland migration in history was the movement of women and children and older people out of cities in Germany, out into the countryside where they would be safe, because they knew the bombs were going to be coming. The people that were killed there probably were slave laborers or whatever in those factories that had to be destroyed. But in any case, and their voices, it was almost as if the voices didn't even stop with the humans. The voices were the cattle, the animals, the world that was so completely disrupted in that very spot. You know, this is something maybe I should just let it go. But I thought, no, I'm gonna say about it. I had said to Thomas eventually when I could speak, I said that I should probably write a song about this, or a poem, to try to immortalize it. I have found that the words that kept going through my head, or have since, were from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, when he wrote I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, and he talks about what the Civil War did to America, and the words go something like, it was as if an earthquake rent the hearthstones of a continent and made forlorn those households born of peace on earth, goodwill to men. That was kind of the closest that an earthquake could just rent the hearth. Well, you know, it's dreary, very dreary, and you know, it's recovered, and why, you know, why did that have to happen? Why all that beauty that I see in that world of farming and that world of handwork, hard work? I mean, I'm not that romantic about it. I mean, hard, suffering work, but nonetheless, the overall effect of it, beautiful in my mind. And it had been, why did that have to be so destroyed? Well, you know, I don't like to leave on a low note like this. Tomorrow will be the 176th day. I think I maybe will pause, Kat. I'll pause maybe just to explain what's going on a little bit. And we have one more open-air museum to go to, and a big one. So thanks for listening. I've tried. Bye for now.